You know, they sure do celebrate Father's Day differently overseas. Hey friends, this is Pastor Mike from Fellowship Church. Always love to connect with you midweek. Hope you're finding ways to stay cool in the midst of all this heat. And I hope that this past weekend you found time and had occasion to celebrate the fathers or other influential men in your life, and I hope it was a good weekend for you. But that thought for you again, they sure do celebrate Father's Day differently overseas. You may be aware of the fact that the Church of Jesus Christ throughout much of Europe has been in a steady state of decline for the last number of decades. In fact, there are some countries in Europe today and areas of certain countries where church attendance has dropped well below 10% of the overall population, meaning that the church is considered to be mostly irrelevant, kind of a fringe group. And that is certainly true of parts of England. There are parts of England where that number is actually 5% or lower. But one church in the area called Worcester has decided to do something about it. St. Stephen's Church in Worcester decided that they would hold a special Father's Day celebration this past year. And on Father's Day, they had what they called a Blessing of the Fathers. You didn't have to be a father, just a man to come to this celebration. It was a special celebration of fathers, and when the men all left the church, they were given a gift, a bottle of beer. Had them all laid out on tables in the lobby so that as the men were leaving, they all grabbed a bottle of beer on the way out. And I'm thinking, wow, that sounds like a really cool tradition to start there. Of course, there were some people who were critical of that, saying that's unseemly for the Church of Jesus Christ, and what are we doing with all that? The pastor said, well, our God is a God of generosity, and Jesus did turn a lot of water into wine, John chapter 2. Now, before you think I'm thinking of popping a kegger in the lobby here at Fellowship, let me just ask you a question here. The Apostle Paul, 1 Corinthians chapter 9, when describing his ministry and the techniques that he used for sharing the gospel, he said these words, I have become all things to all people in order that I might save some. Now, that tells me that Paul, one of the best evangelists to ever walk this planet, was already of the mindset that he was not going to save everybody. I don't know what some meant to Paul, but Paul could say that even irregardless of his best efforts, he knew that he could only save some. But Paul wasn't going to let that some become none. So in Paul's mind, he was willing to become all things to all people. Hey friends, I wonder what your definition for the word all is. Because for Paul, he was willing to become like a chameleon. Regardless of the people he was spending time with, their religious background, their faults and foibles, the social, racial type stuff, financial type stuff, whether they were sinners, nonsense, whatever it amounted to in Paul's eyes, he was willing to do whatever he could, whatever he had to do, to become something like him so that he could open up an avenue by which he could share Christ with them. So here's that question for you again. I wonder what all means to you. I wonder how far you're willing to go. I wonder how you're creating avenues with people around you, particularly people who are not just like you. That's way too easy. I wonder what you're doing to create a means by which you can share Jesus with people around you, even if it means you have to become all things to all people. I wonder what all means to you, friends. I just know that in the Church of Jesus Christ today, when we look at the world around us and say it feels like the world is becoming less and less like the church, well, it just means that we now have opportunities to experience all things, all people, whatever it takes to save as many as we can. That is the task in front of the church today, and that is exactly why we're here. Friends, I hope that resonates in your heart the way it resonates in my heart. I doubt we'll pop a kegger in the lobby anytime soon, but I wonder what all means to you today, and they sure celebrate Father's Day different overseas. Take care. God bless. Have a great week. Bye-bye.